Yo, what is going on YouTube? This is your boy Dan, aka aDrive. But guys, week 9 of the NPA. The New York Metapods are taking on the Iowa Hawluchas and my good friend Brady Active. If you guys are feeling it, man, show your love on that like button down below, and definitely make sure you guys check out Brady's channel in the description below. What's actually funny is Brady is the guy who creates my Pokemon for me every single week, except for this week, of course, because I didn't want him to know what I was bringing. But this should be a lot of fun. He's a really good friend of mine. I think he's 3-4 so far in the league. I am 6-1, so we've actually been one of the better teams so far this season. I'm really proud about how we performed, but that doesn't mean anything now because we have this match, and this is the match that matters. So let's kind of run through the team a little bit here. Big shouts to my man Crimson for sending me over the Mons this week. But you know, let me look at his team first, actually. So looking at his team, he's got a big Tyranitar that they could do a lot of things. It's funny, we faced Mega Tyranitar last week, but does have that big fighting weakness, so I think we can kind of capitalize on that. Sandstream kind of messes up our game plan a little bit in terms of one of the ideas I was going to bring. Almost brought Sunny Day and Shift Tree this week, guys, but I decided not to. So, because of the sandstorm. So close to bringing Sunny Day, sweeping Shift Tree, man. So close. But anyway, he's got that T-Tar. Obviously, could be a Rock Setter, could do a lot of things. Luckily for us, our Sableye does have a very good response to it, and you'll see the rest of our team. I'll talk a little bit. Volcarona. Stealth Rocks are a huge priority for Volcarona. Big monster. This thing, if it sets up a Quiver Dance, it can be really, really effective in sweeping an entire team. So you do have to be kind of careful with Volcarona. So that is definitely something to look out for this match. Espeon does have the Magic Balance ability. Very good speed stat. Pretty good special attack too. 130 base special attack should not be laughed at. But it is very frail, and its move pool is lacking. So it's got actually a lot of things. I expect him to actually bring this Espeon because he doesn't have any fairy types on his team. Espeon is one of the only Pokemon, if not the only Pokemon on his team that actually learns a fairy type move. I think Meloetta might learn Dazzling Gleam too. I'll check that after the match, or before the match. But Espeon is one of the few Pokemon that does get fairy type moves, so it might be one of his kind of weird responses to Sableye to try to OHKO it. So don't be surprised if he brings like a Spec Set or a Calm Mindset, if he brings that Espeon in general. The Registeel is there. Big wall, both physically and especially defensive, potentially. A little bit worried about a Curse set. If he runs like Curse, Iron Head, Rest, Sleep Talk, that could be mildly problematic for my team. I have a lot of resistances, but it's a big wall if he's able to set up a couple Curses. So don't be surprised if he does bring the Registeel, and I play very aggressive around it because I don't want to allow him to set up. Once I scout his set, it's not an issue. Sableye beats it 100% unless it is that Curse Rest Talk set. But if he is Curse Rest Talk, it's a problem. So you'll see I have a couple things kind of prepped for that. Meloetta, kind of a weird Pokemon. Meloetta is a very good Pokemon, but I've yet to see it do a lot of work in the counter team format, to be honest. You have to get that Relic Song off, turn it into Pirouette form, and that kind of forces you to change your stats around, and he's kind of frail, and you kind of have to work with that. It can be very challenging to use that Pokemon. I've yet to see it used very effectively, but it does have a lot of potential. It is Psychic and Normal type, though, and again, if it doesn't get Dazzling Gleam, which I do want to check, you know, Sableye should be in good shape, so not too stressed about that. He's got a Leavanny, too, a potential Sticky Web setter. But the thing with Leavanny is, since I do have Sableye, I feel like it's so risky for him to bring Leavanny. I just don't think it matches up well against my team, so I'm really not expecting to see it. But regardless, Leavanny, it typically runs, you know, physically offensive sets with like Swords Dance potentially, or Leaf Blade X's or things like that. Can run Leaf Storm, especially, you know, but most of the time it's like a Sash lead with you know, with Sticky Webs. Big Mega Blastoise there, which is a very good Pokemon. I think Mega Blastoise is actually one of the most underrated Megas in the format. Such a good Pokemon. Yeah, obviously the ability to Rapid Spin makes it very valuable, but the fact that it doesn't have reliable recovery does set it back quite a bit. So I think we can kind of chip it down with Stealth Rocks and just get some chip damage on it, slowly weaken it. Things like that. Definitely scary though, because it could have Dark Pulse, could have Ice Beam, could have Water Pulse or Scalds. Obviously Rapid Spin, could be Toxic, Protect, a lot of different things. But again, the fact that it has no recovery does hinder it quite a bit. Raikou, huge monster. Calm Mind setup Raikou is very scary. Very scary. It's got a great stat. It can be like special defensive stat. It can be Assault Vest, which is what I like to run. Choice Scarf, Choice Specs. A lot of different options with Raikou. So you got to be really careful with that. I think our team can handle it though. He's got a Machamp there. Obviously, no guard. Offensive Machamp is very scary. Luckily for us, Sableye is there, so not as big of a deal. It might get Foresight, but that's a lot of setting up. And you know, I'm not too worried about Machamp just because it is very slow, but those confusion hacks can be very annoying if it starts to get some dynamic punches off, so something to keep in mind. Leopard, very fast Pokemon. Prankster, typically. Thunder Wave, Knockoff, things like that. Maybe even Taunt. It's really designed to be a Prankster attacker and just have some quick hits. And last but not least, on Brady's team, he really likes Hoopa, so Hoopa is a very interesting Pokemon with an insane special attack stat, 150 base special attack stat, let down a little bit by its speed at 70 base speed, and that that Ghost Psychic typing leads itself to be 4 times weak to Ghost, which is huge since we have a couple Ghost type moves in our team that we can kind of take advantage of. So Hoopa's good. I expect him to bring it, but it's not the most scary thing in the world. But he's been using it very effectively. He likes to bring it Scarfed, and there's always the Trick Room potential, but his team's got a lot of speed, so it's a little funky. But either way, I'm expecting the T-Tar. I'm expecting the Blastoise. Those two, pretty much a sure bet that they're coming. Hoopa, I think, is also very likely to come. Raikou is iffy. I think Raikou is really good, and it's almost too good to not bring, in my opinion, especially since I don't have a reliable ground type aside from Steelix, which gets bodied by Aura Sphere. But Raikou is very, very good, so I wouldn't be surprised if he brings that. If he thinks that Volcarona can sweep against me, he'll definitely bring that. Volcarona is very good. Espeon's a possibility. Registeel's a possibility. I'm not too concerned about Machamp, Leopard, and Meloetta, Leavanny. I'm kind of throwing those into the back burner. If he brings one of those, I'm not too worried about it. I think our team is going to be able to handle it just from a type perspective alone. I think we have the right types of Pokemon on our team to handle it. So anyway, let's jump into our team here. Kicking things off, as always, pretty much is our Mega Sableye. This thing is a very good Pokemon. It's a utility Pokemon, right? This week I was really thinking about bringing that Calm Mind set as I normally bring. Very good Pokemon setup and sweep. He has no fairy types. The Calm Mind set is probably the superior set, but this week is not about Sableye. Sableye's job this week is to keep rocks off the field and cause some havoc with knockoff. So I get that same set I brought a couple weeks ago that I didn't even use with the Fake Out to ensure our Mega Evolution, so I don't have to worry about anything early on the switches. If he leads with, Espeon versus Sableye, I can click Fake Out, get that Mega Evolution off, and then get the heck out of there. Or go for knockoff if I want to. I mean, he could Dazzling Gleam us, but unless he specs, I think I'll be all right. So I really like this Sableye set. You know, my EVs are pretty much split between my defense and special defense. Max HP, 132 defense, 124 Spadef. Otherwise, relatively standard there. The next Pokemon we're going to be bringing this week is, of course, our Flash Drive here, trying to get off the Schneid. Hasn't been doing too well this season, but we're bringing that max speed, hasty nature with max special attack, but a little bit of a mix set. This Expert Belt is going to allow that superpower to OHKO most variants of Tyranitar, unless he's fully physically defensive. I don't think he's living that superpower. Does about 120%, so we should have that's to offensive, and we'll obviously outspeed unless he's like a DD or a Scarf set. Knockoffs there for general shenanigans, Hoopa and Espeon, and just hits off Volcarona. Volt Switch, no ground types on his team. Volt Switch is absolutely lovely. I can simply Volt Switch right out on pretty much anything. Decided to go against the Life Orb this week. I'm kind of sick of how much damage I've been taking with Life Orb and Stealth Rocks in this thing, and I just want to have a little bit more versatility, a few more switch-ins and different opportunities with that. But I do think that Volt Switch Thunderbolt there could be pretty handy. Again, this thing can put in a lot of work against this team. It beats the Blastoise, beats the T-Tar, the knockoff beats the SP. I mean, there's just a lot of things that this thing can do to beat his team, the Hoopa, etc. We just outspeed mostly anything except for the Espeon and the Raikou, and the Raikou can't use electric moves against us because we have Volt Absorb, which is really, really cool. So I'm looking forward to this thing doing some work. But the Pokemon that is going to do the most work, in my opinion, is going to be none other than Crimson here. Crimson, the Scolipede, has been an absolute monster this season. It's actually the only Pokemon, I think, on the team that has been to every match so far, if I'm not mistaken. This thing is a beast. First of all, Mega Horn, OHKO's T-Tar, if he's offensive. Rock Slide, OHKO. Like, dude, just go down the list, right? This thing kills everything but Blastoise. Everything. It's amazing. Scolipede is so good, dude. Like, I really feel like this Pokemon is a first-round draft pick. Like, I really do. I really feel like Scolipede can be like a top 2-3 round draft pick. And I feel like it goes undrafted sometimes, or it goes like super late in the draft. This thing's good, dude. Every week I'm like, yo, this has a great matchup. And I just keep bringing this Life Orb Adam and Scolipede because it's so good. Either way, we got enough speed on there to outspeed. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we have 212 speed, which is going to put us above the, let's see, above the Leavanny, I believe. I think it's above the Leavanny prior to speed boosts, which means we will not outspeed a max speed Volcarona after Quiver Dance, which is slightly problematic, but I did not want to sacrifice that extra power from Adamant Nature just to go Jolly. I felt like the power from Adamant was necessary, ensures the KO on T-Tar and a couple other things, gets that dent on Blastoise, which is so crucial. I just need to save this thing. Last week I played way too aggressively with it. I probably could have 6-0'd my opponent last week with this Scolipede, but I played way too aggressively, switched into a Slowbro. Those are the plays that win you matches. There's also the plays that can lose you a match, right? So a lot of people were very critical about my Scolipede switch, and I realized it didn't pay off, but sometimes you got to be aggressive. I didn't think he had the Psychic. That's why I made that switch, but either way, not a big deal. We still won the match, so I was happy about that. But yeah, this thing, save it in the back. This is definitely late game, mid to late game. I'm not going to bring it in early. But I say that now, but like if I can put the pressure on early, then I'm going to. That's the thing. I like to make my aggressive plays. I like to make aggressive switches and really get the upper hand and start to poke holes in his team. He has no switch-ins for this thing. No switch-ins. It can totally win this game if things go well. So unless he has something crazy like a berry or something like that. Next Pokemon we're bringing, very unique this week, bringing the Mold Breaker Careful Drudagon. This thing is max HP, max special defense with the Mold Breaker. Now, he's going to know we're breaking the mold as soon as we send this thing out, obviously, but that allows us to set up Stealth Rocks on the Magic Bounce Espeon, which is really cool. I like that a lot. We've got Toxic Protect on there, pretty much beats everything. Dragon Tail is there just for Registeel, really. That's the only reason why I have it, because I'm worried about that Curse setup Registeel. Really need to have an answer. That same thing for Raikou. This thing can sponge hits from Raikou all day, especially with us getting that leftovers back. I got Protect on there to be safe. So standard like bulky Drudagon, but his main objective is to get those Stealth Rocks up to kind of help out the rest of the team and really wear down that Volcarona, wear down that Raikou and things like that to keep them from switching. And we are guaranteed to get our Stealth Rocks up because of the Mold Breaker. Little tip I learned after that Excadrill set it up on our Magic Bounce. So we got some options there. The second to last Pokemon is going to be Arwen, who's actually got the best KD ratio on the team, bringing that max max special attack, a lot of speed investment with the Choice Scarf. We are exactly speed invested with, let's see here, 180 speed, which allows us to outspeed Hoopa by 1 point, of course. So we're going to always outspeed Scarf Hoopa without a problem. We've got the Moonblast, the Shadow Ball, the Energy Ball, and the Destiny Bond. I was going to run Trick, but I decided that that was something I've done a few times already this season, or at least once or twice. And if I send this thing against Registeel, I feel like he'd be more likely to attack me than to switch out. And the Trick, it just results in me losing a Pokemon. I don't know. I just felt like Destiny Bomb was a better bet. It was a safer bet. So I really think Arwen could put in the work. It hits everything on his team, like super effective. So if I could send this thing in mid to late game, it could actually do some work too, as we've seen it clean up a few times. Very effective Pokemon. Trick might have been the better option, but he just doesn't have that many walls that I felt like I could trick. So I mean, maybe T-Tar, but I don't want to give T-Tar a Scarf. So I didn't want to run Focus Miss either. So that was kind of my logic there. But I think Arwen is going to be able to put in some work. I really like this Pokemon against his team. And again, he just doesn't, it like hits everything. Like Moonblast hits the T-Tar. You know, we could Shadow Ball the Volcarona. This isn't a Volcarona counter there. Shadow Ball for the Espeon. Obviously, you can kind of check out the rest. You know, Moonblast and general shenanigans for the other stuff. Energy Ball hits the Blastoise as hard as Thunderbolt, but you know, it hits some of the other stuff a little bit better. So I went Energy Ball over T-Bolt. Shadow Ball obviously wrecks Hoopa's life. Very important there. Moonblast beats the Leopard. So a lot of things there in that Scarf could come in handy. But last but not least, let's take a look at our last Pokemon here, which is going to be our Vesuvius. Now, Vesuvius is running the Assault Vest this week with a ton of attack investment, fully attack invested, Adamant Nature, Sacred Fire, E-Speed, Stone Edge, Iron Head for the T-Tar. Big monster. This is my primary response to Volcarona. Even if he goes +1 or +2, his HP Rock is not going to do a lot to us, and we actually just body him with a couple E-Speeds or a Sacred Fire. This thing puts in the absolute work. So I think Entei could be huge this match. It's going to be very crucial. I need to save this thing for Volcarona. So this thing is, and that's why keeping the rocks off the field with Sableye is so crucial, because I need Entei as my Volcarona response. It has to happen. Otherwise, Volcarona could set up and sweep my entire team, because if he predicts a Protect with Scolipede, I'm in a little bit of trouble. Volcarona actually destroys everything else. Sableye can knock off on it, but even so, it's kind of hairy if I don't get rocks up early, things like that. So really need this thing to hold it down. Not to mention, it actually can take a Scald from the Blastoise. I can take a hit from the Raikou really easily, and everything else on his team. Sacred Fire obviously is very scary for him. It might help us against the Espeon or the Hoopa. So I really like this Entei this week, and I think it could put in a lot of work. And we're not locked into a move because we do have the Assault Vest, so we don't have to stick with a move with the Choice Band. So anyway, that is our team builder for this week, guys. I think we have a really good opportunity here on paper to win this match. It's going to really depend on how aggressive we play, whether we can keep the rocks off the field, whether I can get them on the field with that Mold Breaker Drudagon, and whether Scolipede or something like Vesuvius can come in and put in the work to pick up the kills that we need to pick up. I think we have the right team, though. I'm very excited, and hopefully this will be a really good match, guys. Get excited for the match tomorrow. Show your love on that like button down below if you haven't yet. Subscribe if you are new, of course, and get ready to hit them with a hard in. My name is Dan. I'm also the coach of your New York Metapods, and I'm going to catch you guys later. Peace.